Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Healing Our Community podcast with Dr. Ray and Jean. Hi, I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Jean.
And today we are going to be talking about this emotional slump that we're noticing that everyone seems to be stuck in. And, we've been meeting with clients, not only here in the Delta County area, but also in the Chicagoland area. We still see clients virtually, and it's really kind of been across the board that there's just been this emotional hole that people have been expressing.
Some days you're having a good day and all of a sudden you just get this feeling, and it just comes at you. Sometimes you wake up in the morning, you sort of feel it. Could be the weather, could be lots of things, but we all go through this where we just, for no real reason, have like a low energy sort of day, and something we all go through.
Yeah, and I would say that, we need to make a distinction between this low energy and like depression, right? Because I think that there is a difference, between the two. I think, what we've been hearing is just this low motivation, like feeling stuck and feeling like, I don't really, what's the use? It was something that a client said to me the other day. It's like, what's the point, was the question that he asked. And, I think it's a pretty powerful question that really encapsulates that feeling of being in this slump. I think the weather doesn't help today.
And, it's not really something you can sort of talk yourself out of. It's just this feeling that you have. And, I think the animal world feels it as well, where they have different ways of being. Sometimes they're laying down, not eating much, not doing too much, and other days they're energized and going about life. And so I think it's something that is part of us that we all experience. And when you're there, it's kind of difficult to pull yourself out of it. And that's what we really want to talk about is like, how do you get through that? And one of the things that is really important is discipline. So when you have a discipline, it means you have to do something regardless of how you feel. So many of us have like hobby farms or animals in our world that we have to.
We have a hobby farm.
That we have to go out and feed. We have to bring them water. We have to do those kind of things, whether you feel like it or not. And it's actually really good for us. It's good for us to have to show up and go to work or whatever those things are, that we keep moving, because when you have that low energy, that's when energy gets stuck. It's stagnant. It doesn't want to move. And pushing yourself to get that flowing again. Exercise is also really good, but that keeps that flow going, and then it will pass.
I think that's where the phrase "fake it till you make it" comes in. And I know a lot of people hate that phrase, but especially on days or weeks like it has been here, sometimes that's what you got, right? Is to do your routine, even though you don't feel like it.
Well, we have very few cloudy days. Like today's a cloudy day, and we feel great when the sun is shining and the mountains are beautiful. And then you get this dreary, it's going to snow, it's going to rain, kind of low energy. And when we are in pain, we always have two choices. One choice we have is to seek comfort. And we seek comfort by taking medication, having a cocktail, distracting ourselves with TV or our phone, something like that. And all the things that bring us instant comfort also lead to us being unhealthy. So ultimately, they create more of the problem that we have. The other thing you can do when you're in pain is a discipline. So if you think about, if your back hurts and you take a pill and you lay on the couch, you're not going to get better. But if you go to physical therapy and you push through the pain, you're going to get to a place where you are healthier. And that's where we experience joy. So the difference between pleasure, which is really fleeting, and joy, which is more lasting, is that we're actually doing something to help us feel better.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that, this is something that we've noticed across the board, not just the clients that we see here, at KBH Center in Delta County, but also in our clinic in Chicago. The people across the country are feeling the same way. There is a phenomenon actually that in February there is an emotional slump that happens, and there's a lot of different reasons that people have speculated as to why that is. But like we have Myra from Chicago. She's saying hi, Myra.
Hi, Myra.
And this is also a reminder here that you can ask us questions. This is live. So, she said that she recommends to try something new. She motivates herself to try yoga. She started classes, feel like the evenings go by fast, and she sleeps better. I think that's fantastic. And, we've always been a proponent for doing new things because, when you do new things, you are in a different frame of mind. You have to shift your perspective because you're in a new environment or you're experiencing something new. And so it forces you to get out of whatever rut that you're stuck in. Yesterday at the resource center, our facilitators, Amanda and Robin, were doing a group. And one of the things that they talked about, hi, Resource Center, if you guys are watching.
Angela, not Amanda.
I'm sorry, Angela and Robin. And Angela talked about, wearing something different, to shift that perspective. That's kind of why I'm wearing the Hawaiian shirt today, is, to have a different, frame of mind and to jar me into thinking, differently today. But that's another thing too, is, you can physically do things that it's going to shift your momentum and your energy.
Another thing that happens is a thing called emotional contagion.
Mm-hmm.
An emotional contagion is that our emotions are contagious. And if you're very close to someone, meaning you probably live with them or you work with them, you spend a lot of time with them, when they're in a bad mood, they don't like you to cheer them up. It's very difficult to do anything to impact a person that you're very close with when they're in this crappy place.
Yeah.
But if you think about listening to a baby laughing, that's going to make you smile. That's going to make you feel better. And an interesting thing that we have in us is our muscles actually can change things. So if you have a frown on your face, you are going to produce a chemistry that kind of says, eh. But if you put a smile on your face and even fake laugh, you're going to start to feel better. Your body's going, oh, I think we're happy. So that emotional contagion, that someone around you can actually bring you down and put you in a worse mood, and it's much more difficult for you to put them in a good mood.
Oh, look, Kristen, hello from Florida. I hope it's sunny and more warm down there than the rest of the country. And maybe you can share some of that with all of us here, right?
I think it's cold there too.
Some of that emotional contagion, that would be nice to share. Yeah, that you can feel that this concept of emotional contagion. If you walk into a room and maybe there was like a fight or something that happened, an argument or something, and you feel that even though the argument isn't going on right now. Oh, she said it's getting there. It's sunny. That's nice. Yeah, even though the argument has ended, you still feel the energy in the room, and it is going to affect you. And so when you're around someone who has that low energy and low motivation, you are going to, inadvertently, you are going to take that on too, and, in contrast, you have someone who has that positive energy, is trying to, bring up your spirits and everything, or they have positive spirits. You're going to feel it too. So I think it's something to really be aware of. I think one thing is important to know is that we're all going through it. We all feel it in one way or another. Right?
One of the things that I like to do, and maybe this is a little bit bigger than a regular slump, is I like to change the environment. I like to paint the walls. It's been a while, but I used to repaint our house a lot. Rearrange the furniture, clean something, declutter something, all of that. When we think about this energy kind of being stuck, it kind of moves it through. And ultimately, one of the best things we can do is go inward. We can close our eyes. We can acknowledge how we feel. We can pray. Prayer is a really good way to help us shift our focus. There's a lot of people that practice gratitude, and you start to think, okay, I have a roof over my head. There's food in the refrigerator. My bills are paid. I'm relatively safe right now. And all of those things can stop that negative thinking or that kind of automatic thinking that is leading to the yucky.
Yeah, I would say the worst thing that you could do is withdraw and
Mhm.
isolate, right? Which is, it's a tendency, it's a feeling that you want to do. I mean, before we got on here on this podcast, I was going to tell you, our cats, we have outdoor cats, they are curled up into a ball, both of them, and they're just laying there, right?
Yeah.
And it was really indicative of the energy that we were going to be talking about here, is that sometimes you just want to get in bed and you just want to pull the covers up, and you just you want to restart the day or not start the day. And that is a tendency, right? It's a feeling that, that we are kind of
If you
moving
let
towards.
those negative feelings win.
If you let it win, right? Yeah. And your mom is on.
Hi,
She's
Mom.
attending. She changed her colors in her house with the seasons. I wonder where you got that from then. Yeah. Yeah. And Myra, she adopted a bird. You adopted a bird. His name is Tico. When he sings, it brings a smile and feels good. We get that feeling from our goats.
Yeah, I think I felt a kick from the baby goats today, which is really exciting.
Hopefully they are
another month and a
pregnant,
half.
and so we'll might be birthing goats for the first time in our lives. Well, we're not birthing the goats. The goats are birthing them. We're just going to be assisting.
I would say the difference between this slump feeling and something that is more of a depression is there's really nothing tied to it. There's nothing to talk about. Nothing's happened.
Right.
You just kind of feel blah. And, if you think about the way human beings have lived on this planet, for the winter, they kind of hunkered down. There wasn't farming to happen. They stored up whatever food they had, and they sort of just took a break and muscled through it and kind of survived. And maybe we're supposed to slow down and take a break, but our world doesn't work like that anymore.
And I think that's a good point. And I think that they expected it and they knew that it was going to happen. It was just part of, living life on the land and dealing with the ups and downs, which are naturally going to happen. And I think in today's society, we try to force and have expectations for ourselves that are maybe unrealistic, right?
And some things that are really comforting that you can do is sit by a fire. Ray, you already made a fire for us today.
Started a fire.
Have a cup of tea or coffee or something, a warm liquid, kind of bundle up and nurture yourself a little bit. That always helps help those feelings pass, especially when you're actively doing something to help yourself feel better.
Yeah, yesterday at the Resource Center, they talked about self-care, which is very important, especially in the conversation that we're talking about here, is taking that time, taking a step back, not, pushing yourselves, having these unrealistic expectations, but then, directing some of that energy towards yourself, right? Helping yourself feel better, maybe, nurturing yourself, as Jean is talking about too. These are all things that we know intellectually, but, not too often do we actually practice it.
You can also reach out, call a friend you haven't talked to in a while, and you'll be surprised by the end of the phone call how much of a shift you'll feel in your own emotions.
Yeah.
Because we can't give to others without receiving ourselves.
That question that client had brought to me and to my attention is, what's the point? I think that there is a point to feeling the way that we do, whether it's good or whether it's bad, up and down, there's a point to it. And maybe we might not understand what that point is in the moment that we're experiencing it, but it is something that we need to feel.
Wayne Dyer would always say that every spiritual growth begins with a fall. And what he means by that is if you wanted to like jump up on the table, you would have to crouch down first. And so I think these slumps are opportunities to see what's out of balance in our life and to maybe have some creative energy of how we're going to shift that or do something different. And it is about bringing in change, which of course people don't like change. We like, certainty. We like to know that gravity works in the morning, but it's an opportunity.
I would say we want change, but then when change happens, we resist it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It takes energy.
It takes energy, and it brings up the unknown,
mm-hmm.
which is something that what we fear. We don't know what to expect, and so what is this unknown, this uncertainty going to bring us?
And in our brains, the neurons that fire together wire together, and so when you're having this feeling, your brain literally gets in a rut. And so anytime you can change that up, drive a different way, walk a different way, sit in a different chair, do something different, and that'll shift that brain chemistry even that's kind of holding you in that rut, which is a form of survival to sit and tolerate the uncertainty or the blah. But that's another thing you can do is just change things up, and you will shift your perspective.
I just had this image. I don't remember when it happened, but I think was it with our granddaughter or something? You were like, walk like this.
Oh yeah, we used to do that with Saffron. But I did do that with Ainsley, and me and Angie would do that.
Right. And it just instantly brings a smile to your face, and it shifts your perspective and gets you out of thinking the way that you're thinking. And I think that kids know how to do it.
Yeah.
They naturally know how to do it.
They skip and they hop and they jump and all the fun things that as adults we stop doing.
and right, because as adults we fill our heads up with all of these things that we have to worry about. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say that, I woke up early, I couldn't sleep, or I was thinking about this when I woke up, and it's just the burden of all these worries that we have to figure out. Sometimes we need a break from it. So I wanted to let you know this was our second episode of this podcast, and we are going to be doing this live every Wednesday at 12:15. Jeannie and I are going to be celebrating our 28th wedding anniversary on Saturday.
Talk about being stuck in a rut.
Yes. And we are on Valentine's Day, just want to say. And we are going to be going out of town. We'll be in Florida. So hopefully, Kristen, got to warm things up down there. Hopefully by the time we get down to Florida, it'll be nice. Want to remind everyone too that, this podcast is not designed to diagnose anything. It's for educational purposes, is really a way to start the conversation about mental health and mental wellness in not only Delta County, but elsewhere, everywhere else that people might be experiencing these things. And if you do have any questions or want to get a hold of someone at KBH Center, we have the phone number running down there. You could just look us up at kbhcenter.org. Any parting thoughts for today?
Keep climbing.
Climb out. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And again, if you have any questions when we do the podcast, you can always, submit a comment or a question on Facebook or on our YouTube channel as well. Until next time, I don't think we have a tagline yet, do we?
Not yet.
Until next time, stay healthy.
Maybe next time we'll have a tagline.
Yeah. Stay healthy? No, next time. Take care.